I am a neuroscientist and professor at Stanford School of Medicine. And today I'm going to break down the real science of mastering your sleep so you can take control of your brain, great pain, your body, and your day. We'll dive deep into how your circadian rhythm works, how light exposure controls your brain's alertness, and the exact habits that can optimize your rest without pills, hacks, or guesswork. Because when you sleep right, you think sharper, feel better, and perform at your absolute best. Let's rewire how you approach sleep so you can unlock the energy, drive, and focus your life truly demands. The circadian rhythm is a roughly 24-hour internal clock that governs the sleep, wake cycle, and many other physiological processes in the human body. It is deeply tied to light exposure, hormone regulation, and brain function. Either great pain. This rhythm doesn't just determine when you feel sleepy and when you feel alert. It plays a critical role in how your brain performs, how your body heals, and how effectively you can concentrate, learn, and retain information throughout the day. The suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, located in the hypothalamus, is the master regulator of this rhythm. Great pain. It receives direct input from the eyes and adjusts according to the amount of light detected. Either great pain. When light enters the eyes in the morning, it signals the SCN to increase the release of cortisol, a hormone that promotes wakefulness, energy, and focus. Conversely, in the evening, reduced light exposure triggers the pineal gland to release melatonin, a hormone that encourages sleepiness and preparity for rest. Proper alignment of your circadian rhythm begins with what you do early in the day. Getting sunlight within 30 to 60 minutes of waking is one of the most powerful ways to anchor your circadian rhythm. Morning light exposure activates a cascade of neural and hormonal responses that promote alertness and regulate the timing of melatonin release later in the evening. Great pain. Without this natural light exposure, the internal clock can become delayed or desynchronized. Great pain, making it harder to fall asleep at night and harder to wake up feeling refreshed. Consistently waking up and going to be at the same time every day also strengthens the circadian rhythm, creating a more reliable and predictable pattern of energy and focus during the day. Your body, temperature, heart rate, pain, and cognitive ability also follow a circadian pattern. Body temperature is lowest in the early morning hours. Pain rises steadily throughout the day and peaks in the late afternoon or early evening. This temperature rhythm correlates with peak mental and physical performance. For example, the late morning to early afternoon period is often the ideal time for deep focus, problem solving, and high-level cognitive tasks. Grain. Understanding this pattern allows you to align your most demanding tasks with your natural periods of alertness. Pain. When your activities are out of sync with your internal clock, such as staying up too late using screens into the night or waking at irregular times. It leads to what is called circadian misalignment. This misalignment can impair memory, reduce focus, increase stress, and even affect metabolic health. The timing of food intake also plays a role in regulating circadian rhythms. Either rate pain. Eating at consistent times during the day can reinforce the brain's perception of daytime, either great pain, helping to strengthen the wakeful period of your rhythm. Conversely, pain. Eating late at night can confuse the body's internal clock, especially since the digestive system is not optimized for heavy activity during rest hours. Pain. This misalignment between feeding and sleeping cycles can disrupt sleep quality and blunt your energy levels the next day. Exercise, particularly when done earlier in the day, can also reinforce circadian alignment by increasing body temperature and stimulating the production of wakefulness-related neurochemicals such as dopamine and norepinephrine. Melatonin, often misunderstood as a sleep-inducing hormone, is more accurately described as a darkness signal to the body. It tells your system that it is nighttime and that sleep is approaching, but it does not directly make you fall asleep. Proper melatonin release is crucial for initiating the natural sleep process, and its timing is sensitive to light. Exposure to bright lights, especially blue light from phones, tablets, or overhead LEDs, after sunset can suppress melatonin production, delay sleep onset, and disrupt the depth of sleep achieved. To support the natural release of melatonin, it's essential to reduce screen time and overhead lighting in the hours before bed. Instead, using dim, warm colored lights can help simulate dusk and prepare the brain for rest. Social cues and habits also influence circadian rhythms. Interactions, work schedules, social media usage, and even late night conversations can either support or hinder your sleep-wake cycle. The brain thrives on routine, and irregularity in these social or behavioral patterns can create subtle shifts in the internal clock that accumulate over time, leading to chronic tiredness and poor focus. Jet lag and shift work are extreme examples of circadian disruption, often requiring several days to realign the system. But even subtle, either great pain, everyday misalignments can have measurable effects on attention, memory, and mood. The circadian system is tightly connected to the release of neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, both of which affect mood, motivation, and learning. Great pain. Exposure to natural light and maintaining a healthy rhythm support optimal levels of these brain chemicals, enhancing both mental performance and emotional well-being. On the contrary, when circadian rhythms are disrupted, dopamine signaling can suffer, which impairs motivation and the brain's ability to sustain long periods of concentration. These neurochemical shifts are not just short-term consequences. They can compound over days and weeks, affecting long-term mental clarity and performance. A properly aligned circadian rhythm helps regulate not just sleep quality, great pain, but the timing and intensity of energy throughout the day. There are natural ebbs and flows in your alertness based on this rhythm, including the post-lunch dip that many people feel. This is not just due to food intake, but also part of the biological rhythm, either great pain. Recognizing these patterns can allow you to plan recovery, breaks, and focus blocks more strategically. When your lifestyle supports this rhythm, your brain and body reward you with sustained energy, better memory consolidation, improved learning, and sharper focus throughout the daylight is the single most powerful external factor that influences our internal clock. Pain and understanding how to control light exposure is key to mastering sleep and enhancing mental performance. Great pain. The human visual system does far more than allow us to see the world. It also communicates with specific brain regions that regulate alertness, energy, and the timing of our sleep-wake cycle. Specialized cells in the retina called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, NIPE-RGCs, detect the presence and intensity of light and relay that information directly to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, SCN, the master circadian clock of the brain. These cells are especially sensitive to blue light, great pain, which is abundant in natural sunlight and artificial screens, either rate pain. The SCN interprets this light data and adjusts the body's rhythm accordingly, determining when hormones like cortisol and melatonin are released. Morning light is the most important signal for establishing a healthy circadian rhythm. When you expose your eyes to sunlight shortly after waking, ideally within the first 30 to 60 minutes of the day. You activate a chain of neural responses that increase wakefulness and either great pain. Set the timer for melatonin production later that evening. The earlier and more consistent this exposure is, the more stable and predictable your energy levels and sleep onset will be. Even on cloudy days, outdoor light is significantly more intense than indoor lighting and provides the right spectrum and intensity needed to reset your circadian rhythm. Getting this light exposure for 5 to 10 minutes on bright days or 15 to 30 minutes on overcast days can dramatically improve sleep quality, and next day focused artificial indoor lighting, on the other hand, lacks the full spectrum and intensity of natural sunlight. Spending the majority of your time indoors under dim or fluorescent lighting creates a state of circadian drift where the brain receives weak and inconsistent cues about the time of day. Either great pain. This can lead delayed melatonin onset, reduced alertness during the day, and difficulty falling or staying asleep at night. Bright artificial light at the wrong time, particularly in the evening, can also suppress melatonin production, delaying the natural signal to wind down and sleep. The widespread use of screens and LED lighting has only intensified this issue, making it more difficult for many people to feel tired at night, even if they are mentally and physically exhausted. To combat these effects, it is essential to limit exposure to bright and especially blue-enriched light in the late evening hours. Blue light, either great pain, emitted in large amounts by smartphones, tablets, and computer screens, great pain strongly inhibits melatonin production by tricking the brain into thinking it is still daytime. This effect can delay sleep onset, reduce deep sleep, and impair next day performance. Grain. One effective method to counteract this is to use software or apps that reduce blue light on screens after sunset, or to wear blue blocking glasses that filter this wavelength. Additionally, shifting to warm, dim lighting at night helps mimic the natural decline in sunlight and encourages the brain to transition toward rest. The timing of light exposure is as important as the type. Great pain. Early morning light promotes alertness and sets a healthy rhythm, either great pain, while light in the evening delays sleep and reduces sleep quality. Interestingly, light exposure during the late afternoon and early evening, often referred to as a second light anchor, can also help stabilize your circadian rhythm. This secondary exposure is to reinforce the timing of your biological clock, pain, further anchoring your energy and sleep cycles to a predictable pattern. However, the light should taper off still after sunset to allow melatonin levels to rise appropriately. Light also impacts mood through its effect on brain chemistry. Great pain. Morning light exposure increases dopamine and serotonin levels, which are associated with motivation, focus, and emotional stability. Pain. This is one reason why consistent light exposure is often prescribed as part of treatment for depression, seasonal affective disorder, and sleep-related issues. Conversely, pain, poor or inconsistent light exposure patterns are linked to low energy, mood disturbances, and cognitive decline. These effects are not just short-lived, prolonged disruption in light signaling to the brain can impair long-term circadian function and even the immune system. Understanding and controlling light exposure allows you to take back control of your sleep architecture. Sleep is composed of different stages: light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. And the quality and distribution of these stages are influenced by how well your circadian rhythm aligned with the natural light dark cycle, either great pain. When light cues are misstimed or weak, the brain can struggle to enter or maintain deep and REM sleep, which are critical for memory consolidation, learning, emotional regulation, and physical recovery. Over time, these disruptions compound, leading to fatigue, lack of focus, and decreased resilience to stress. Incorporating structured light exposure into your daily routine does not require dramatic lifestyle changes, but does demand consistency. Make it a priority to get natural sunlight as early in the day as possible, either great pain, ideally paired with some form of physical movement, like a walk or light exercise, which further boosts wakefulness signals. In the evening, begin to dim the lights at 1 to 2 hours before bed and shift to warmer color temperatures, either great pain. Avoid screens where possible or use protective tools to minimize their impact. These simple yet powerful changes align with the brain's biology and promote restorative sleep, elevated energy levels, and improved focus across the day. Caffeine is one of the most widely psychoactive substances in the world and plays a powerful role in shaping our alertness and sleep-wake cycles. It functions primarily by blocking the effects of adenosine, a neuromodulator in the brain that builds up throughout the day and promotes feelings of sleepiness. When caffeine enters the bloodstream and crosses the blood-brain barrier, great pain. It binds to adenosine receptors and prevents adenine from exerting its calming influence. Pain. This leads to a temporary increase in alertness, improved concentration, and delayed onset of fatigue. While these effects can be beneficial when timed properly, great pain. Caffeine consumption too late in the day can significantly interfere with sleep architecture, reduce deep sleep, pain, and shift the timing of your circadian rhythm, ultimately resulting in diminished energy and focus the next day. The half-life of caffeine. The time it takes for half of the substance to be metabolized and eliminated from the body is typically between 5 to 8 hours, depending on individual genetics, liver enzyme activity, and other metabolic factors. This means that if you consume caffeine at 4 p.m., a significant portion may still be active in your system at bedtime, either great pain, silently disrupting your ability to fall asleep or enter deep sleep stages. Even if you manage to fall asleep with caffeine still in your bloodstream, the quality of that sleep is often shallow and fragmented, leading to increased fatigue and mental fog upon waking. Pain. Many people develop a cycle where they feel tired in the morning due to poor sleep, consume caffeine to feel alert. Pain, and then disrupt their sleep again with late day caffeine intake, great pain, perpetuating a loop of dependency and sleep disruption. Individual sensitivity to caffeine can vary widely. Some people are fast metabolizers and can consume caffeine later in the day with minimal impact on their sleep, while others are slow metabolizers who experience prolonged stimulation and difficulty falling asleep even with small doses. Age, liver function, and genetic variations in enzymes such as CYP0A2 all play a role in determining how quickly caffeine is processed. Regardless of sensitivity, pain, a general rule to optimize sleep is to stop consuming caffeine at least 8 to 10 hours before your intended bedtime. For someone aiming to sleep at 10 p.m., this means cutting off caffeine intake by around 2 p.m., great pain, or earlier. The source and dosage of caffeine also matter. A standard cup of coffee contains around 80 to 120 milligrams of caffeine, but energy drinks, pre-workout supplements, and certain teas or sodas can contain much higher doses. Pain. Some over-the-counter pain relievers and diet pills also contain hidden caffeine. Pain, which can accumulate throughout the day without a person realizing it. It's important to be mindful not only of when you consume caffeine, but how much and from what sources. Consuming moderate, timed doses of caffeine can enhance alertness, improve reaction time, and support focus during the early part of the day. But excessive or poorly timed caffeine use can lead to tolerance, jitteriness, anxiety, and sleep fragmentation. Many people rely on caffeine to combat the afternoon energy dip that naturally occurs as part of the circadian rhythm. However, there are alternatives that support energy without compromising sleep later in the evening. Movement, hydration, a light healthy snack, or a short non-caffeinated break in the sun can reinvigorate the system without interfering with the brain's sleep preparation later on. In some cases, strategic use of lower caffeine options like green tea or yerba mate in the late morning can provide gentle stimulation without the crash or prolonged stimulant forms effect associated with stronger Zafrones. Caffeine uses can also affect the brain's reward system by altering brain's reward signaling. It enhances the availability of dopamine in the brain, which can increase motivation and pleasure, especially in the short term. This is part of what makes caffeine feel uplifting and even addictive for some individuals. Over time, repeated caffeine use can lead to downregulation of adenosine receptors and changes in sleep-related neurotransmitter sensitivity, making it more difficult for the brain to transition smoothly into sleep without it. Some individuals may notice withdrawal effects when trying to reduce or eliminate caffeine, including headaches, irritability, and fatigue, which are typically temporary but can make change difficult. Establishing a healthy relationship with caffeine means understanding both its benefits and drawbacks. Rather than using it to mask chronic sleep deprivation, it should be viewed as a tool that can support cognitive function when used intelligently. Pairing caffeine with high-demand cognitive tasks in the morning can enhance performance, but reliance on it as a crutch throughout the day signals an underlying need to improve sleep quality, duration, or timing. Keeping caffeine intake to the earlier part of the day preserves its effectiveness and protects the sleep processes that are essential for memory consolidation, hormonal balance, immune function, and emotional regulation. Sleep and energy are not just about what happens at night, but also about the decisions made during the day. Caffeine is a major factor in that equation, and becoming more conscious of its timing and quantity can unlock a higher level of sustained energy and sharper mental focus across all waking hours. Monitoring how your body responds to different caffeine levels and adjusting accordingly allows you to maintain the benefits of stimulation without the cost of impaired rest or disrupted sleep rhythms. When used wisely, caffeine can complement your natural alertness patterns rather than work against them, creating a consistent wind down protocol is essential for transitioning the brain and body from a state of alertness to one of rest. In a world full of stimulation, constant connectivity, and sensory overload, the nervous system rarely gets a clear signal that it's time to power down. Without a structured and reliable set of cues signaling the end of the waking day, the brain can remain in a heightened state of arousal, making it difficult to initiate sleep and achieve deep, restorative rest. The body operates best on predictability, and the same way a morning routine can prime the brain for alertness and action, an evening routine can prime it for calm, recovery, and sleep. This wind down phase should begin 1 to 2 hours before intended sleep time and should involve activities and environmental changes that progressively reduce stimulation and promote a parasympathetic state. One of the most powerful tools in a wind down protocol is the reduction of artificial light, particularly blue light emitted from screens. Exposure to light in the evening, especially overhead or high intensity light, sends wakefulness signals to the brain through the eyes. This suppresses the release of melatonin and delays the onset of sleep. To support the brain's natural rhythm, it is important to begin dimming the lights in your home as the evening progresses. Switching to warmer, amber toned lighting and using lamps instead of overhead lights can simulate sunset and help the body prepare for sleep. Avoiding screens entirely during this time is ideal, but if screens must be used, blue light filters or glasses that block blue wavelengths can reduce the negative impact. Incorporating calming, repetitive activities into the evening routine can further reinforce the brain's association between certain behaviors and sleep onset. Reading a physical book under dim light, taking a warm shower or bath, listening to relaxing music, or engaging in light stretching can all serve as effective cues. These routines are especially effective when done in the same sequence and timing every evening, creating a pattern that the brain begins to recognize as a transition into rest. The body responds well to ritual and rhythm, and over time, these practices condition the nervous system to downshift automatically when the routine begins. The role of body temperature in sleep onset is also a key consideration. Core body temperature naturally drops in the evening to signal the body that it is time for rest. Engaging in a warm bath or shower before bed may seem counterintuitive, but it actually helps accelerate the body's cooling process. When you exit the warm environment, blood flow is redirected to the skin's surface, allowing internal temperature to decrease more rapidly. This drop in core temperature helps signal to the brain that sleep is imminent. Maintaining a cool sleeping environment also supports this natural thermoregulatory process, ideally keeping the bedroom temperature around 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Though individual preferences may vary, another powerful component of an effective wind down protocol is breathwork or mindfulness. Engaging in slow, deliberate breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for rest and recovery. Practices such as box breathing, 4-7-8 breathing, or guided relaxation techniques help lower heart rate, reduce blood pressure, and calm the mind. These physiological shifts create the conditions needed for the brain to release sleep, promoting neurochemicals and transition from beta wave activity associated with alertness to alpha and theta wave activity associated with relaxation and pre-sleep states. For individuals who experience racing thoughts, anxiety, or mental overstimulation at night, mindfulness practices can serve as a powerful buffer that separates the mental activity of the day from the stillness needed for sleep. Limiting stimulating activities in the hours leading up to bedtime is crucial. High-intensity workouts, emotionally charged conversations, heavy meals, or stimulating entertainment like intense TV shows or video games can all activate the sympathetic nervous system and make it more difficult to wind down. While moderate exercise earlier in the day can enhance sleep quality, late evening workouts can raise cortisol and adrenaline levels, delaying the natural sleep onset process. Similarly, consuming large meals late at night can cause gastrointestinal discomfort and elevate body temperature, both of which interfere with restful sleep. If hunger strikes in the evening, A light snack that combines protein and complex carbohydrates can help stabilize blood sugar and promote satiety without overstimulation. Cognitive offloading is another useful strategy within a wind down protocol. This involves externalizing thoughts, worries, or plans that might otherwise occupy mental space as you try to fall asleep. Keeping a small notepad or journal next to the bed and jotting down tasks for the next day, unresolved concerns, or reflections from the day can help clear mental clutter and reduce the cognitive load carried into sleep. This practice signals to the brain that these items have been acknowledged and stored, decreasing the likelihood that they will resurface as intrusive thoughts during the night. This simple technique can be especially beneficial for individuals who struggle with overthinking or anxiety at bedtime. The sleep environment itself must also support the wind down process. A quiet, dark, and cool room signals safety and calm to the nervous system. Using blackout curtains, white noise machines, or eye masks can help eliminate distractions and improve sleep depth. Associating the bed only with sleep and intimacy, rather than with work, screen time, or stressful conversations, helps reinforce a strong mental connection between the bed and restfulness. This form of classical conditioning strengthens the brain's ability to relax automatically when in bed, rather than associating the space with stimulation or alertness. When all elements of the wind down protocol are consistent, intentional, and biologically aligned, the body naturally prepares itself for deep, restorative sleep and optimal energy the following day.